Sanibonani, bantwana benkosi. Thank God, it's Friday. Washo umuntu le eMelika. 0861987000. It's our studio line today. We're taking your calls as usual between now and 10:00 hours. Special thanks to the breakfast team. Besitye coffee ke namhlanje bantwana benkosi Motherland. Yes, Motherland coffee. I'm told that mythically coffee was discovered by goats somewhere in and around East Africa, in Ethiopia. And these people's business is based on the idea of coffee farmed in the African continent. It's coffee. This is Power Talk on Power 987. And that's what we've been enjoying. Coffee with the breakfast team led by Tessa Dooms. Lovely moment indeed. 0861987000. We're taking your calls. What do you have in mind this morning? Many of us slept very late, very late, because isugile lapaya, isugile in the Oval Office once more. The drama of Donald Trump doesn't end. But also we've got 0833037093. That's our studio WhatsApp line. You can send us your voice notes. If you're in Johannesburg, Nasepitoli, 98.7 is the frequency. If you're in the Joburg South and the West Rand, 103.6. Kosebukeng up to Zamdela in Vereeniging, 104.4. In Ekurhuleni, 107.2. You can also listen through the DSTV channel 889 or our online streaming on www.powerfm.co.za. Tell us what you think. The Honorable Advocate Shamila Batoyi coming out finally to speak to the media about her work. We saw the interview there last night with Oli. We are looking forward as well for an opportunity here on Power Talk. We hope that will also be extended. So the spokesperson of the NPA made the promise here on a couple of days ago. I think I'm beginning to believe in the credibility of that promise. But also we're going to look in the show today at the unmasking of the Donald-Elon relationship. The Trump-Elon Musk relationship finally is unmasked. And then Professor J.J. Klaas, sociologist and historian and explorer, basically wrote a very persuasive piece against one of the most recent publications on Nongqawuse, and basically wanted to dispel some falsehoods that were basically in his determination as part of colonial propaganda about the story of Nongqawuse. And then, Maskandi, the legendary Hashelim from 1100 hours to 1200 hours. We are joined in studio live by Hashelim. Please, Bantwana Benkosi, please tune in. We're also live on our YouTube channel. You can just go for Power 987 live there on YouTube. We are live today. It's a beautiful day. 0861987000. Please call us and tell us what you have in mind. I've got a Friday tune here by Obaba Uhyu Masigela, Amangoma. Here is our Friday tune. Abangoma, The Healers by Brahu Masigela. 0861987000 here on Power Talk. We're taking your calls, and 0833037093 is our studio line. Let's hear what you have in mind this morning. Hopelang, welcome to Power Talk.
Hi, Dr. Ndlozi. How are you?
I'm fine, brother. How do you do?
I'm great, thanks. I want to talk about the NPA. So I remember the former Chief Justice Mogoeng saying that the burden should not be placed on the prosecutors to secure a conviction. The only thing that the prosecutors must do is place a strong case before court and argue it as such, and anything else that happens after that is not in their hands. And my question is, Dr. Ndlozi, if you were a seasoned senior prosecutor who is competent and you are allocated matters that have, important matters that are in court, can we really place it before you and say that you must secure a conviction failure to do so, we will call you incompetent and useless.
I don't know.
So
we'll have to possibly bring him in to interrogate that perspective, don't you think? Because I don't know that. What if the National Prosecuting Authority has a terrible capability in executing, in argument, the actual case?
Yeah, or because I think that might be true, but as well, we mustn't just automatically say that they are incompetent, because if we look at the Cholota case, they've lost it in the High Court. And if they appeal that court and then that case and then it's overturned in the Supreme Court, then they would be vindicated. But as it stands now, we are saying that the NPA does not know what they are doing until such time that that matter gets overturned. Because there was this matter in many years ago where the prosecutor was actually suspended for losing a case at the magistrate court. And then later on, it was overturned at the High Court, and the judge actually lamented the magistrate for not understanding the law properly when they said that the defendant was not guilty. Now, at that point,
you'll have to give us that case, Khopelang. Those are not grounds to put prosecutors in terms of their own laws and rules. You can't. I'm sure there was another reason. Not that they lost the case. It can't be true.
Yeah, but the investigations that are going on now with the cases that they are losing, is the what is the purpose of the investigation? To say, does the prosecutor know what they're doing or they don't know what they're doing?
Well, many people's assessment, and in this case, even some of the experts, for instance, the former NPA people that have led at that level have been interviewed, and they've come to the conclusion that there is a serious problem with the execution of the National Prosecuting Authority. Shamila, and the National Prosecuting Authority itself has made some of these admissions.
That the prosecutors are incompetent?
Yes, that there's been problems of prosecutors in various cases, that some of which were high-profile cases.
Okay. And does that mean the NPA is hiring incompetent lawyers?
We don't know. We'll have to hear. Okay. That's why we want these interviews. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Khopelang there in Kempton Park. Peggy. How are you?
Good and you, sir.
Ngiyaphila.
Good. No, I have a problem with the issue yale case with the judge. My question, especially with us as black people, why is the standard always white people? Whenever we complain about black people or blackness or anything, it's always compared to a white man. Why didn't the judge say, no, a colored lawyer would have never done this, an Indian lawyer would have done this? Why is the standard a white lawyer?
What did the judge do?
No, the judge, okay, let me explain it, because it seems like maybe you don't have an idea. Let me give you a snippet background. Advocate Ndlozi asks for a day off on Monday to say, I'm going to be running a marathon on Sunday. And yes, Advocate Ndlozi. So on Monday, I will be traveling back, so I won't be in. So the judge, and she sends an email via the registrar to the judge, which is the right procedure. So if instead of the judge calling Advocate Ndlozi into his chambers, he addresses this in court, and which is the wrong process to do it. You cannot address an issue with a lawyer via a sitting court. You need to call the lawyer to your chambers. But he then says, no, a white lawyer would have never asked me for a day off to
go
and run a marathon. Yeah.
Him a pig, but by Petel, I think he's like.
This is South Africa, run by blacks. I can tell you now, even if you call me an Uncle Tom, I don't think a white advocate can have the gall to ask me that.
This is sad.
but here's my problem.
How does a person like that make it to the bench?
But this is exactly what Advocate Skakane once said, that some of the judges that are sitting in our benches don't deserve to be there. You understand? Because you bring in a government of black people into a case where a lawyer is asking just for a 1 day off. Now, the whole black government is guilty of being incompetent.
No, the whole blacks, the entire, all black people. I mean, Tina, sebenza la Power were always on time. You know, when the show starts at 9, yeah. And so on and so forth. I mean, manje uyasifaka kule bench yakhe lapha ukuthi na sifuna iholiday. Sake sayifuna ke holiday.
The sad thing is this is not the first time this judge does this. He did this in a case.
No, I'm sure they will take it up with the judicial disciplinary processes there.
And they must.
I hope they do.
This judge must be removed, and if possible, he must be impeached, because this is not the first time. Even in the Senzo case, it's not the first time he does this. He has a self-hatred, and if he hates being black, he must not include us in it. We don't hate being black. We are proud of being black. And the mistakes that black people are making, we see them and we want to correct them, but it doesn't mean we need to hate ourselves because black people are making mistakes. Just because a black government is making mistakes doesn't mean I need to hate being black. It means I need to strive to correct the mistakes that the black government is making. Absolutely. But I don't hate my blackness.
Ngakuthanda. Today, Peggy.
Thank you very much.
Uyalahlela namhlanje. Thank you. That's Peggy. Jongapeli in Mpumalanga. Welcome to Power Talk.
Mornings, my good doctor. Unjani?
Ngiyaphila unjani ba?
I would like to thank you for the music played.
Thank you.
And sometimes ngizocela ukuthi usifakele ne redemption song yaka Bob Marley.
I will do that. Yeah, very lovely song.
Ngiyakubonga Baba Ndlozi. Ngibonga yonke into, and there's something in yourself. You need to seek, pray for your honor. You are destined for higher things. My spirit is saying that no, you are one of the chosen. Amen.
Okay. Chosen to do what, ba?
Yeah.
Chosen to do. I'm sure you are getting into some point.
No, you are one in life. There are those who are chosen to do or perform certain things. When you did not, it was not a mistake to find yourself where you are. Moreover, your duty, Konamaji, is to enlighten everybody about the situation. You know, when we fought for around 76, we were so naive, not thinking, oh, good, no, she's over. Under these circumstances, we find ourselves. We thought we would know. We're freeing ourselves. Black Power started Soweto. It was on Friday, and it came to Mamelodi on Monday, on the 19th. On the 19th, I was sent, and while I was en route to the supermarket, Land Rover 2. They said, no, I will run away. But I thank God. Something said, no, don't run away. If I had run away, and till now, Nyambong Jehovah, Amen.
Amen. The time is 9:30 here on Power Talk. We are all encouraged never to be resistant to our callings. That's the message. We're going to take the headlines with Nompumelelo Ngubeni.
Unanticipated and unpredictable. News just happens. And when it does, trust us to be there and to bring it to you.
The Select Committee on Security and Justice has strongly condemned the matter.
During her bail application, Kwinana claimed that she was...
Total employment decreased by 0.8%.
Power News, covering your news 24/7 around the clock.
Police are confident that they have cracked down on a syndicate.
Stay informed, and for more up-to-date news, follow us on X at Power 987 News.
Mojo Mabelane.
Power 98.7. Now we're talking.
Thanks, Mbuyiseni. Good morning.
The DA has accused the National Prosecuting Authority of failing to serve the public and uphold justice in South Africa. In a briefing held this morning, the DA highlighted what it describes as the NPA's persistent failures in handling priority crimes and state capture-related cases. The party emphasized that the justice system is failing South Africans and called for accountability from both the NPA and the Department of Justice over repeated failures to prosecute high-profile corruption cases. And now these cases include the collapsed Omotoso trial and the unsuccessful extradition of Murwadi Chalota. Chairperson of the Standing Committee on Finance, Joseph Maswanganyi, has expressed confidence that the fiscal framework will be voted on and approved by next week. Maswanganyi stated that the committee prioritized the interests of the country over party politics when deliberating on the framework. It comes after the Parliamentary Finance Committee adopted Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana's fiscal framework with support from both the ANC and the DA. Speaking early on Power Breakfast, Maswanganyi emphasized that a committee's commitment to national priorities over political divisions.
Government reduced corporate income tax because it was argued that by international standard they are paying quite high. And most companies have not yet recovered fully after COVID. We are cognizant of that, but we don't want to place more burden that those few companies that are remaining, that have absorbed people in terms of work and tax, they be burdened more.
More on these and other power stories at 10 o'clock.
Power traffic.
A very good morning to you once again. Let's quickly take a look at what's happening in your roads. If you're traveling on the N1 southbound as you're going through the Baklu interchange, you'll bump into some pressure with delays just under 15 minutes approaching the Rivonia Road exit. If you're traveling on Malibongwe Drive eastbound, that's in the North Riding area, those traffic lights that are out at Bel Air's Drive are causing eastbound delays on Malibongwe. If you're traveling on the M2 westbound in Crown City, you can expect queuing traffic approaching Main Reef. The M2 West in Germiston also experiencing a 10-minute backlog as you're getting out of Germiston approaching the Geldenhuys interchange. If you're traveling on Randfontein Road eastbound in Roodepoort, there's some minor traffic that you'll bump into that's between Nick Toomey Boulevard and Durban Deep Road. A number of traffic lights around the city of Johannesburg are out this morning. In Midrand, they're out at K101 and Allendale. In Rand Park Ridge at the N1 and Beas Nordier Drive, those traffic lights also out in the east of Joburg as you're traveling on Modderfontein Road at the Van Riebeck Road intersection, as well as at the N3 highway interchange. And remember, if you come across any further traffic incidents, tweet at Power987 Traffic. For Power Traffic, I'm Lebohang Pukela.
Power traffic.
There's been a lot of talk, but here's what's real. The National Lottery is still here, still running, still paying out, and you can still win big. Play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 30 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matric mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bucky to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
Has your SME been in operation for over 2 years? Are you ready to scale and seek 250,000 Rand or more in funding to take that bold next step? The JSE SME Rise Capital Matching Initiative is connecting investment-ready businesses with capital providers offering bespoke funding solutions. Register your SME today and unlock access to capital, networks, and the tools to fuel your vision. Visit the JSE SME Rise website to learn more.
Power Business with Nosipho Khadebe.
Wits Business School has launched the Food Safety Leadership Initiative, a program designed to address food safety challenges in South Africa. Ravi Pillay, FMCG strategist and co-founder of the Food Safety Leadership Initiative.
You know, food safety in South Africa has reached a tipping point.
from the listeriosis time to the death of over 20 children in townships over the last 2 years. Imagine if we can redirect that 1/3 of food waste when it's still fresh and nutritious to those who are vulnerable in our society, and then this automatically then cools the demand for these illegal operations that make very unhealthy snacks and foods for children in our community.
Power Business, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m.
Power Business is proudly brought to you by MTN. Today, we make moves.
We can't make you a morning person.
Good morning to you, Power family. Good morning.
But we can surely make your weekend mornings. Everything you need to make your weekend mornings better.
How are you this morning? I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a fabulous week.
Power Weekend Breakfast with Terwaj Maachi. A little bit of this, that, and everything you need to start your weekend.
It's also important to differentiate between a need and a want, a luxury.
But what if I need what I want?
Saturdays 6 to 10 a.m. and Sundays 6 to 9 a.m. on Power 98.7.
We are members of the Weekend Breakfast Church, hence we don't go to other churches.
Now we're talking. Power Talk with Dr Ndlozi, where your voice is heard and opinion matters.
0861987000. We're taking your calls. Bantwana Benkosi here on Power Talk. Vincent in Mamelodi.
Hello, Dr. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. How are you, brother?
I'm good, man. Dr. Labo, I can touch on more issue this Charlotte. I mean, if somebody go to court and lie under oath, the person will be charged for perjury because the judge said the investigator they lied. Am I right?
Go on.
Yeah. So what are they doing with those people? And because that lies, the suspect had a good lawyers who represented her. What about those who don't have financial muscles to be represented or a maka? So meaning,
I don't know. Did you read the judgment, Vincent? That there was an actual ruling that they lied. Is that?
No, I didn't read the judgment, but the judge summarized for us ordinary people.
Because remember, we had the NPA yesterday on the show, which explained that part was not the judge's conclusion. The judge was merely repeating a submission.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the NPA's explanation, and I haven't read that judgment. So there are several aspects to a delivery of a judgment. There are those aspects where the judge explains that these people of the NPA made this submission, and then the defendants made this submission. Therefore, this is my conclusion.
Yeah, but if a judge go to an extent in a court of law and saying the investigator lied to the American authorities.
That's not what the judge is saying. She said that's what the submission was.
Okay.
Yeah, those are two substantially different points. That's the explanation of the NPA. And I'm saying I haven't read the judgment to confirm what they're saying or not, but we got them because somebody made the same point you made yesterday, and we got the spokesperson of the NPA in the show. That was their explanation, Vincent.
Yeah, thank you for the clarity. Before I go, Doctor, I don't know, but I hear that it looked like there are some certain issues you don't want to touch, especially of the MK, and we understand.
But you are welcome to touch them, Vincent.
I think it's important to also because I think it's important also to invite those people from the AK party and come and explain some issues here on your show because you are our mouthpiece. You are also representing us there at Power FM because you love the station. But I heard it look like some of those Monday you said, "Let them fire lab."
Hey, I did. What's wrong with it?
But you are bolelela go lomo re nyaka go utlwa gore go lwelwang kwa go ba bitse nna ke a gopela re nyaka ba utlwa re nyaka ba kwa ba bitse ba tla tlhalosa o mongwe a bolele so mo re then re na tla decide gore wa nnete ke mang.
Yeah, I'll also talk to TT so that it's not delayed because of me, you know. TT might want to help us as well. Remember, I'm not the only person here on power.
Yeah, but I think it would be nice.
Thank you, Vincent. Thank you. Vincent in Mamelodi. Putana Rosebank, welcome to Power Talk.
Good morning, my brother, and how are you?
I'm fine, brother. How are you?
Judge Rata. Fire off explosives. This is what happened in South Africa run by blacks. Indeed, a racially charged remark. But the judge was frustrated by the rogue lawyer. By the way, Pata is saying the LPA is infiltrated. I don't have any problem with the remark here, Judge. He's a competent judge. By the way, also he sent Richard Ndlozi in jail. Nothing wrong with his frustration. That the lawyers must behave. That thing has been running for over a decade. And then a person says, no, excuse me, I'm going to run a marathon. Is there a person, or the only person represented that accused? Are they not a team?
But what does that got to do with blackness, Putana?
It doesn't. That is why I'm saying.
Are you black?
I'm not black.
What are you, Putana?
I'm not black.
You are?
I'm racially charged.
Which means?
Which means I'm not black. No, I am black.
So when the judge says that a white person would have not asked him to that, this is what happens with black people, is he also including you since you are black?
No, he's not including me.
So why wouldn't he be able to reprimand the conduct of the lawyer without racializing it? That's what people are talking about.
That is why I'm saying to you and my brother, he was expressing his frustration with a rogue lawyer.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but why people are they're not even discussing whether a marathon is in question or not. Why be racist? Is there no way of speaking to that lawyer about that lawyer? How come that lawyer's conduct represents all black people?
Well, that is your interpretation.
No, I'm not interpreting. That's a fact. That's what the judge said.
He says it represents all of us.
The judge said this is what black people do. So that guy is not black people. Is one person.
This is what happened in South Africa run by blacks.
Yes, and that why talk about South Africans and the running of blacks, and why not just speak to the conduct of Misi, the advocate in front of him, and say this is a problem? Why tell us white people are better than you? They wouldn't ask me this. Why racialize it just to get to a small point? This is the point of poor judgment. This is the entire history that culminates into apartheid, colonization, sexism. It is these generalizations that are meant to demean an entire nation, an entire people on the basis of a conduct of one person.
Well,
that's what is being discussed, Putana.
Well, I'm aware that that's what is discussed. But all I'm saying, that's my view. And I'm entitled to express my view. I'm saying it is due to his frustration. So other people can come with their own opinion. I don't have a problem.
Yeah, but Putana, you are not speaking alone. So that's why you are on air. We are all listening. So the question of entitlement is already a foregone conclusion. That's why you are on air, Sigma Male. The expectation with speaking is that you are speaking to the other. That you will not get a response is unfair. that your view won't be interrogated as to its factuality and all of that. And once the facts are put to you, you say, no, this is my view. Then the conversation is not going anywhere. It can't move forward.
Well,
We talk to find each other. And the judge can express his frustration about Mnisi's conduct without condemning an entire people on the basis of the conduct of one person. That's what we are saying.
I said I take that point, but
okay. That's it.
That is. I take your point,
okay.
But what I was saying that he expresses frustration about the road line. I don't have a problem with
Thank you, Butana.
Don't have a problem at all.
Thank you. Thank you very much
you,
for the
brother.
contribution. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stelo in Durban, welcome to Power Talk.
Sawubona dokotela.
Sawubona.
Uyaphila mfowethu?
Hayi ngabe nizwile mfowethu. Ninaphila.
No, I'm well. Thank you, my brother. And I would like to start my conversation by saying the gentleman who was extolling your achievements and your callings and all that, he's 100% right. I've been following you, watching you from the clip, the small clip that was there when you were interviewed by Tracy Going when you were young. So that told me when I watched it that you were destined for higher things. Well, having said that, I must say I'm coming to the defense of Judge Ratha Mokwateng. I hear one thing with South Africans is that lately, because of social media and all this control media, people are commenting on clips without getting the full context of things. And they end up talking and sweating just because they've just saw a certain clip. First of all, I can attest to you that I'm black. I can attest to you that I am a South African. I can attest to you that I am an activist. But we cannot, Dr. Ndlozi, accept statistocracy. We will never do that as a country. That is why you see our people not performing. When we are taken for granted, up until now, we are a dog that is being wagged by a tail, which is white. If you know me, you will know that I am more of leaning towards Pan-Africanism. But Pan-Africanism does not mean we must accept continuing walking like a wounded dog, because that's what's happening. We as blacks, anything anyone says, this, black, this, we are up in arms because we are wounded.
But don't you think that seat of the judge is not something to be taken lightly? Like to speak from the bench, a lawyer frustrates you. Why not condemn that particular conduct without condemning black people as a whole? Black people everywhere. There are black people in the Caribbean. There are black people in the entire African continent. There are black people in America. There are black people in Europe. Why bring all of them into the conduct of a single lawyer in front of you?
Okay.
I mean, you and I know there are excellent lawyers out there. Sikakane, Nongqawuse. There's so many who you wouldn't be able to say that they are lousy lawyers. We know a lot. Himself as a judge, he's black. He is not of that conduct. So why not speak to the conduct of this particular person? Why condemn all of us from the bench, from a seat of justice? I don't think it's a small matter.
I recently listened to Dumapoko, the president of Botswana. Yes, I recently listened to his speech talking about, in Tswana, I think that word was bufokoti or something like that. Yeah, which means there is no one who is perfect. And it was a slip up from his side, the way I look at it. However, that slip up comes from the fact that these lawyers, these advocates, have been disregarding this judge.
Well, we can, you and I agree, as long as we agree that even if the frustration is heavy, that moment was a judge being of poor judgment, then that's fine, without excusing the frustration. Nobody's trying to protect incompetence, but do not condemn all of us.
Yeah. No, I'm not happy being condemned with other people, because I know how hardworking I am. Ever since I came back from exile, I've never gotten anything from any political party supporting me. I've been doing things myself because I believe in what I can do. So, but at the end of the day, what we must discourage, I'm happy and I listen to your show religiously, because I believe in building the nation first, emotionally and mentally. Because if we don't do that, we'll continue having a problem of experiencing the woundedness in us every time. These people, they don't respect that judge. I said one time we were watching it at some point, I said, you know what, if I were this judge, I'll just walk away from this case, because the Senzo Meyiwa family has been waiting for more than 10 years for answers. Things are not coming up. Judges, lawyers are misbehaving. I heard Dalimpofu when he commented on that and chastised the Judge Rata. I heard him and I respect his views and I respect Pabasa. In fact, I love Pabasa because it's our table. When I'm saying our table, well, you can call me racist right now because I am referring to black professional lawyers. Now, they were supposed to call him on the side themselves, not go to the media, because they are now perpetuating the mistake, the minor mistake that was there is now perpetuated, and laziness has now been made professional.
Okay,
I look at it.
Let me take others, but thanks very much indeed for your contribution. I think it certainly helps in the way that you have put. It's constructive.
Good show, my brother.
Ngiyabonga, cool. Ntate Mashaba, very, very pleasant to see and hear your voice. Legai.
Arvano Legai, just disappointed and dismayed and feel so deeply hurt yesterday when I heard the judge attributing his displeasure with one black person and put the entire black race responsible. I take serious exception to this, that I think and honestly believe that this judge honestly owes an apology to all of us. Yes. I'm a black man and a proud one for that matter. I make mistakes, but when I make a mistake, I don't make a mistake on representing the black race. It is Herman Mashaba who makes that mistake. So for this judge to really paint the entire black race because he's unhappy with one black person is totally unacceptable. He's, as far as I'm concerned, he's a victim of what we were taught when we were young, that I just want South Africans to know that Herman Mashaba, as far as is concerned, Lekhowa is not my medicine, and no one else. And I just really want to really register my displeasure, my dismay that this judge actually, as far as I'm concerned, as a proud black man, is an embarrassment to the black race. Thank you very much.
Kilebilo Minahani, Herman Mashaba, Action SA leader, coming on the show to affirm black people. I'm sure we received that, all of us, that affirmation with the serious eternity with which it is delivered. And thanks very much, Ndate Mashaba. Ndate Mashaba wa Action SA. Komozo in Chawela. I'm sure you are aligning yourself with these sentiments as well.
ngiphethe idrinko pop noma ungazana amanzi sike sihlale phansi sikhulume.
But we always have to make sure asikhulumi no Parks just nje for just ndiyacheka nje.
No, ukhulumi naye. Bangak-verify lapha botaba.
Manje drinko pop ngenaphi mfethu? I mean
no, sibe nesikhathi.
You are exposing yourself because I don't think the youth even knows what is drinko. Shwebete, I mean, come on.
To challenge the status quo in terms of our arguments that we put forward. I like that very much. Without you demeaning the other person, you always make the other person, go back and reflect on what they said and perhaps try to read up a little bit more on that one. That I respect a lot about. Okay. Hence I say, there's a lot to step out of you. But, you know what? An easy way out.
No, I think it's proper. But abanye ngaliphela isitudio but mhlambi 4 izoba ngcono ubidrinko popo manje ngeke be enough.
So, let's dissect this statement by Judge Nongqawuse. That it is not for the first time he says something similar. It then begins to be problematic, and it then begins to reflect more on how he sees himself, rather than just venting out on an issue that is frustrating. Granted, his vent was necessary, but his self-hate is also very problematic. He's not doing it for the first time, by the way, in the very same sitting. It simply says to him, when he looks at himself and he looks at the fellow white judge, automatically he believes, he's convinced that the white judge is more superior to him. And now, there are people who, when they believe in something, they have a tendency of wanting to have their own beliefs infiltrating to the rest of the other people. So now he's having this thing that when you see a black academic sit there, automatically they are inferior because there's a white person or a white counterpart who could do better by virtue of being white, without really interrogating their depth of knowledge and information. It's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a very,
what accounts for these sentiments from him? Why would he do that? Why would a judge because ijudge yabona ijudge umuntu esazi ukuthi une self control, une patience, slow to anger, and even at the height is the person in the room who calms us down to always go for proper judgment.
He always dogmatically points to the number of years that he's been a practicing lawyer. Perhaps his ideologies presently have become tainted by what he got accustomed to during apartheid days. And perhaps in his mind, that was the way to go, to a point that even in today's day and age, he does not have the necessary, I would say, calmness to differentiate and say, but for this day and age, what I'm saying is not proper, Yeah. So to me, I think it has to do with him. When he looks at himself, he's inferior. Now he always has a tendency of having his inferiority bottle so full that he wants it to spill onto the next person.
But thank you very much. Thank you very much, Khomotso there in Shawela. It's time for the news here on Power Talk with Nyakalo Tefu.
Power News.
Thanks, Mbuyiseni. The top stories at this hour. The DA has accused the NPA of failing to serve the public and uphold justice in South Africa. An executive mayor of the city of Ekurhuleni is set to brief the media today. With the news at 10, a very good morning to you. I'm Nyakalo Tefu. The Democratic Alliance has accused the National Prosecuting Authority of failing to serve the public and uphold justice in South Africa. In a briefing held this morning, the DA highlighted what it describes as the NPA's persistent failures in handling priority crimes and state capture-related cases. The party emphasized that the justice system is failing South Africans and called for accountability from both the NPA and the Department of Justice over repeated failures to prosecute high-profile corruption cases. These cases include the collapsed Omotoso trial and the unsuccessful extradition of Morwadi Cholota. DA's advocate Glenys Breitenbach outlined the party's proposal for bigger and bolder reforms aimed at combating corruption more effectively.
You need forensic audits done. It's not cheap. The quotes for a forensic audit in a state capture case would run anywhere between 10 and 50 million rand. The NPA, that would be for the police's budget, but they're equally hamstrung by a lack of budget. Cyber forensic experts are paid for by the Department of Justice. They have to pay the witness fees. It's very, very expensive. So if you don't have budget, it becomes difficult and then impossible to prosecute these cases successfully. And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing these debacles in court.
Executive Mayor of the city of Ekurhuleni, Nongqawuse, is set to brief the media today to address recent council resolutions and the city's handling of governance issues. The mayor is expected to provide clarity on the city's response to key governance concerns and to outline decisive steps being implemented to strengthen accountability, promote transparency and safeguard the integrity of public service delivery. This comes as part of the mayor's broader commitment to renewing the public service, a key theme in his recent State of the City address. Here's mayoral spokesperson Ramatolo Totleng.
The Executive Mayor of the City of Ekurhuleni, Alderman Nongqawuse, will hold a media briefing to address the media and public on recent council resolution and the city's approach to consequence management relating to developments at the Summit Building. The media briefing will provide clarity on the city's response to governance concerns and on outline steps being taken to uphold accountability, transparency and service delivery integrity.
Proceedings in the Senzo murder trial are set to resume today at the Pretoria High Court following heated exchanges in court yesterday. Defence lawyer Advocate Charles Mnisi strongly objected during the state's re-examination of Brigadier Bongani Gininda, arguing prosecutors introduced new evidence beyond the scope of re-examination. The dispute revolves around events on June 5th, 2020, a key date involving several pointings out which Gininda testified he thoroughly documented. A 5-men stand trial for the 2014 murder of Bafana Bafana captain Senzo Meyiwa, who was fatally shot at the home of his then-girlfriend Singakile Khumalo in Vosloorus. The court adjourned yesterday with Gininda still under re-examination. Proceedings are expected to continue this morning as the state pushes forward with its case.
The photo that has just been depicted here, I'm objecting very strongly, because it's a photo that has just been handed over to us, I think 3 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, my lord. And then we asked the state, what is it that you intend to do with this photo? There was no answer. We're still waiting for the state to lead evidence in respect of this photo. As to where did they get this photo from, on what circumstances, who gave them this photo, what is the purpose of this photo, my lord? I'm going to object that this witness should therefore be led in the context of this photo.
Just days into the official start of winter, the South African Weather Service has issued several weather warnings ahead of the weekend. SAWS has issued a yellow level 2 warning for disruptive rainfall, with the potential for localized flooding and hazardous driving conditions across several provinces, including the Western Cape. The warning is in effect from Saturday and is expected to persist into next week. In addition, snowfall is forecast over high-lying areas and mountain peaks, which may result in icy roads. Snow is expected in nearly all provinces except Limpopo, with some areas likely to experience heavy snowfall. Transport disruptions are possible, particularly over mountain passes such as Van Riemen's Pass on the N3, where conditions could become hazardous on Monday and Tuesday. His forecaster Letlonolo Tobela.
Most of the isolated showers and thundery showers will be over the Free State, stretching to KwaZulu-Natal by the afternoon on Sunday, especially the southern parts of KwaZulu-Natal. Snow is expected over the high-lying areas of the Western Cape on Sunday, into the southern parts of the Northern Cape, as well as the extreme eastern parts of the Eastern Cape, where we're expecting snowfalls to still persist into Monday, where we're expecting a scattered to a widespread chance of showers and rain over the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal, as well as the southern parts of the Free State.
A look at your financial indicators. The rand is trading at 17 rand 76 cents to the US dollar, 24 rand 8 cents to the pound, 20 rand 31 cents to the euro. Gold's trading at $3,359.22 a fine ounce, while Brent crude oil is at $64.84 a barrel. Recapping the top story in Pau News at this hour, the DA has accused the NPA of failing to serve the public and uphold justice in South Africa.
In power traffic, if you're traveling on the N1 southbound as you're getting out of Midrand, you will bump into a lot of pressure just after the Allendale Road exit. Those delays are as you are going through the Baklu interchange, heading all the way down to the Rivonia Road exit. You can also expect northbound delays as you're traveling towards the Baklu interchange. If you're traveling on Malibongwe Drive eastbound, that's in Kaya Sand, there's some slow-moving traffic between South Africa and the River Road intersection. And lastly, if you're traveling on Marlborough Drive in Marlborough Gardens, traffic lights are out at Far East Bank Drive.
Power News. On FM, online, and DSTV channel 889. This is Power 98.7.
This is Power 98.7. And now you're listening to Power Talk with Dr Ndlozi, 9 a.m. to midday, taking your calls on 0861 987 000.
Welcome back, Bantwana Benkosi. Thanks very much for all those calls. I've got 3 voice notes that I'm going to request before we go to Professor David Munyaye for more just to play.
Homo poisons. I think it's also unfair to blame the NPA alone and leave out the SAPS here, because NPA, I assume, also works on the basis of the type of investigation that would have been done by the SAPS and the evidence that would have been collected. Yes, they are wrong to take a case to court with insufficient information or evidence, but if the SAPS is not doing justice in terms of collecting and gathering enough evidence in the NPA alone, but APS also needs to be blamed in that regard. Great show, my brother.
Good morning, Dr. Ndlozi. This is Reverend Mashalaba in Guatemala Springs. Dr. Ndlozi, I disagree with your previous caller that the judge must be removed simply for commenting on black. Maybe a mistake, yes. But why Tina Jala and the No, we can't do that. If you feel with the judge, let on the same day the judge be called to order a corner court by the lawyers. Not Fanison Teba Sinzin. Are we happy with the majority straight? No, we can't do that. Really, I disagree with that guy. Thank you so much, Dr. Ndlozi. Reverend Mashalaba in Guatemala Springs.
Good morning, Dr. Ndlozi. This is Mutlatsi from Pretoria. The judge was correct. I am very, very black. I'm dark-skinned. And I agree with every word that came out of his mouth, and I'm not ashamed. It is a fact. Let's call a spade, and then we can move forward and fix this country. ANC has corrupted all of us, even in our minds. We are corrupted by the ANC-led government. Stop defending blackness. Not now.
Chacharat, actually. Sorry for my mistake. He's a man of integrity. I love that man. He's not saying this for the first time. And he said this, I think, second, if not the third time. And this time he qualified it. His statement said, all black lawyers, even us judges. But it seems like everyone is concerned about lawyers. He qualified the statement by saying, even us black lawyers, we are dragging our feet, misbehaving, behaving like there's no respect on each other. We conduct each other like there's no elders. Decorum. Don't respect the decorum. So stop being selective on what's being said. Said all blacks, even us judges, all black lawyers, even us black judges. Please be fair to the statement.
Stay informed. Power Talk with Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, 9 a.m. to midday on Power 98.7.
Hey! Bayalwa abantu abamnyama. We'll return to the judge. I think we've exhausted that matter for today. Now we move to the unmasking of the Trump-Elon Musk feud. And I've got Professor David Munyayi of the Center for Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg. And proudly to say as well that he was my teacher. Prof, welcome to Power Talk.
Good morning, and to all listeners. Good talking to you.
Thank you. When this relationship started, many people attributed it in the terms of PayPal mafia, in a way capturing the U.S. head of state and with a specific purpose for the interests of their own digital business profits. Firstly, what is your take on that characterization and this falling off of Elon Musk and Trump? Is it the end of that fraction of capital's control on the U.S. administration?
I think, firstly, I like the way you described it, but we also need to go back in history. This is nothing new. In capitalism, it always happened. We can go in our own history. We had Cecil John Rhodes coming in Africa, and here in particular, in advancing the empire and amass wealth and dreaming of one kingdom under the king and the queen, and we saw that the India company that went to India getting spices, more or less same big companies, private, working hand in hand with the state, advancing a particular agenda. And quite recently, I think you had Jack Ma in China, that whose wings were so strong. I mean, at some point, Chinese government regulated big business and ensured that he behaves like all other. In Russia, you had the Wagner leader that died. Unfortunately, President Putin unhappy in the manner in which, in the United States, we see more or less the same thing. Unregulated big business running amok. So on one hand, Musk, I mean, he has no any upper hand. In the end, the state will win. And President Donald Trump, even though himself is also a billionaire and a business. So there are those dimensions at play and the crisis within the system itself.
In this history, though, you would agree, Prof, that a key characterization of capital as a historic mode of production is precisely that it is the only historical mode of production in which the owners of the means of production abdicate the political responsibility to run countries to other people. Hence Marx's characterization of the executive arm of the bourgeoisie. Capitalists are the only ruling class in history that doesn't want to rule directly. They are pretty much comfortable being in industry, hence the concept of the private sector. But what went wrong? You seem to describe a situation in China with roads and all of that. these are private business interests that whose interaction with the state, as it were, was always or is always with some autonomy. But in this case, you've got a billionaire presiding over directly the American society as a politician. And of course, there's a falling off with Marx, but that is not characteristic of capital, is it?
Not at all. I think what's happening in the United States is it's something it's worrying a lot of people, even in the Western world, where individuals such as Musk, with the Starlink, for instance, can run the world in a way. I mean, if you look with the Starlink, what's happening in Ukraine, the power of individual, that his wealth alone, it's much more than most. I think other than South Africa, there's no any other African state, if I'm not mistaken, that has wealth as him. So that gives you a picture, a good picture, that sovereign states can be suppressed by an individual if not regulated, and therefore that there is a need for global rules of engagement. And how do you limit the power of individual private? And at times these private companies, they work hand in hand, advantaging their own states. And in this case, Elon Musk, whatever he's doing, he's needed by the United States as a state, on space, on so many things. But with the fallout, it's very unfortunate whether the United States will be prepared to lose such a genius, cantankerous person. But I think they need him. But how to control him is the bigger issue. I think they're battling to find the best way. But if you look at the history of the United States, this is not the first time. There has been at times after the Second World War, Chinese well-known engineer was also expelled, and he went on to advance Chinese space, nuclear, and all that we know, who had landed in the United States and ill-treated in a way. But when it comes to Musk, we just don't know how it will end.
Many people then are wondering about the consequences, and I think I could pick several aspects of the questions around these consequences. Firstly, obviously, is what precise influence was Musk exerting on Trump, and what then are the policies are we likely to see change because of Musk's retreat? For instance, investment in multilateral institutions, the trade policy, and the hostilities around tariffs. Are we likely to see that change? Was it Elon Musk? And then finally, South Africa-United States relations. Did Ramaphosa salvage them, and could this be, as it were, the consolidation of the normalization of those relations with Elon Musk's ultimate exit from the administration and a complete falling off with Donald Trump?
Whenever a fight of this nature takes place, anyone who's commanding the state always wins. So if you look at the situation, Donald Trump will prevail. But given the U.S. state need for Musk, they might find the best way of managing him. And it really depends whether he leaves to Canada or to South Africa or any other country. He wishes he's so rich that he can stay in China or any other country in the world that he wishes to go to. But coming to Musk, Trump, we have to understand it as one. They share same norms and values. These personal fights that they're having. But if you look, I think you'll see a continuity of the policies that he started with President Trump. He donated more than 250,000 million. I got off him $1 billion for the campaign. And all that.
And that was in dollars, no? Or is it in rands? Yeah. Okay.
In dollars, and that raises question the role of private sector in politics, and where do they get in? I mean, they're needed, but they have to be regulated. There's a limit to have unlimited access. There's a need for security clearance and all other stuff. So there are a number of things that will come out. But when it comes direct to South Africa, US, I do not see any change taking place. I think the relationship will remain more or less the same because Musk is not the only one who influenced President Donald Trump. There are other interest groups who have interest in South Africa. They've all either their own views, whether on the ICJ, on Israeli-Palestinian crisis, or other issues on trade. So I think you're going to continue more or less same views, but easing up a little bit. It might be bad news for some who wanted to go to the U.S. in the farming community, who claim that there's a genocide in South Africa. So I think some of those issues might ease up, given the fact that he was directly involved. But I'm not expecting much change between Washington and Pretoria.
What do you put the cause of the fracture of that relationship to be between Trump and Musk?
Firstly, it's money. I think policies that were in place by President Biden on electrical vehicles and the subsidies that are given, and the entire business of Mr. Musk is centered on the state, the Starlink spacecrafts that go into space used by the U.S. Government. I think he has contracts with the U.S. state. So therefore, there is a state role there, the relationship between the state and him as a private individual with enormous power and innovation in terms of in engineering, robotic in particular.
And there are calls then at the moment. I don't know whether we are to make anything of them about Trump, President Trump, basically not allowing Elon Musk to withdraw some of these contracts. I think they are coming close to nationalization, those calls, that through one of those declarations, presidential declarations that he makes, he must immediately, as it were, pass one in which he does not allow Elon Musk, to withdraw any of those contracts. It's very much embedded in military activities with drone technology. But there's that call on the one hand. And what also do you make of the threats around Epstein files? Is there something there that could be explosive for Trump?
I think the danger of Musk, whatever evidence that he has, that he's playing within these conspiracy theories. So whether President Trump is in Epstein's files or not, it's all about the U.S. state releasing those files and the timing of it. But for me, I do not think him having an upper hand. There are key issues and weaknesses of Mr. Musk. One is his entry in the U.S. He entered the U.S. under the student visa, and they can go back to that. And the talk, the perception, and the view that he's using drugs, they can use it, as well as the conspiracy and views that he wanted to have access to state files on China and security clearance. So the state has so many tools. So it really depends whether they want to use that or not. If they really want to use, they can deal with him nice and easy. Worse off situation, his disappearance, or he could, in a way, being asked to go somewhere else and not enter the United States, but still engage with him. So it would be better for him to avoid avoid getting involved in the U.S. politics because he is not a U.S. citizen. And he has caused so much havoc that he doesn't have people who support him within the U.S. itself.
And then the final one is the big, beautiful bill, which seemed to be the point of departure, but also at the center of most of the tweets by Elon Musk, because that it will cost the United States administration and increase the debt, which is in trillions and trillions of dollars. He seems to be on a path to get the House, lots of members of the House of Representatives, to squash the bill. Are there prospects to that? Could he undercut Trump, as it were, and his efforts to get the bill passed?
He can. He has a point that the entire Doge that he was running, the main aim was to save resources, restructuring of the U.S. expenditure, and ensure that the debt is paid, and ensure that the U.S. reorganizes itself and move forward. But he argues now that with this beautiful bill, it's going to worsen the situation. It's going to put more $2 trillion on the debt. And therefore, he argues that makes sense. However, there's also a hidden hand that Trump argues that he's angry because the subsidy for his EV cars and others business that he has interest is going to be cut, and that's why he's angry. So it really depends who you agree with.
And this capacity then of Trump, is it of Elon Musk, is it exaggerated, or is it a real thing that most of the representatives in the Congress have some sort of allegiance, or they owe him, or embedded with him? Could he be able to sway the House against Trump? Is that a real prospect?
Well, it is indeed real. He brought President Trump into power. If you have money, you can go to the State House. I mean,
is it true though, Prof? I mean, Kamala Harris wasn't
campaigning. The narrative all about money. So I think he can de-campaign. He can go on rampage in terms of funding those who are the Republicans, whether they're Democrats or independent in this case. So chances are very high given what has transpired during this election. And he's right. Without him, President Donald Trump wouldn't have made it to the White House.
With just 1 minute, can you unpack that for us? Because the majority of the assumption is the average U.S. voter sort of makes it to the voting station, voted on the entire popular agenda of immigrants, the agenda of cutting off and China's influence, the stealing of the jobs, that was much more substantial in relation to the influence of the average voter. Trump just gave him the money, but he was going to win, as it were, because of the weight of those popular ideas or populist ideas. But on the other hand, Kamala Harris didn't present as a strong candidate.
The money in politics, who funds campaign, the voices, you might have a good campaign, but you need platform. And Musk has a platform, X. He deploys resources for television, adverts, radio. He has so many ways of empowering one candidate over the other in terms of spreading those views, whether those views are right or wrong. But that's the crisis we have in democracy, that the role of private it has to be limited. Private plays a critical role, is needed in development, but you need to separate that when it comes to electing leaders to avoid a situation in which the interests of one group, the rich, prevailing on issues that are core to the nation.
Thank you very much, Professor David Munyai, the Director for the Center of Africa-China Studies at the University of Johannesburg. Thanks deeply for making time and giving us proper political education.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. It's 10:30 here on Power Talk. We're going to take the headlines with Nyakalo Defu.
Thanks, Mbuyiseni. Good morning. In news-making headlines at this hour, the DA is calling for the establishment of an anti-corruption commission to ensure serious corruption and high-level organised crime is investigated and prosecuted. The party is currently briefing the media on the National Prosecuting Authority's failures in priority crimes and state capture cases. Advocate Lennis Breitenbach has since outlined bold reforms to combat what the party regards as a deepening crisis. Now, this follows what the DA describes as a string of recent failings, including the collapse of the Omotoso trial and the NPA's handling of the extradition of Moradi Cholota, personal assistant to former Free State Premier Esma Hashelim. Breitenbach proposes for the Anti-Corruption Commission to be independent and report only to Parliament.
Currently, the Democratic Alliance has a private members bill before Parliament, the Constitution 21st Amendment Bill. The bill proposes the establishment of an anti-corruption commission as a solution to getting South Africa off the grey list. The Constitution 21st Amendment Bill, or the Scorpions 2.0 Bill as people like to call it, will establish the Anti-Corruption Commission, a body tasked with investigating and prosecuting serious corruption, high-level organised crime as a Chapter 9 body.
In other news, Health Funders Association CEO Tonashan Naidu says the newly signed National Health Insurance Act is fiscally flawed and unsustainable. The association is heading to court to challenge parts of the act, arguing that while the NHI aims to deliver universal health care, some provisions could have damaging unintended consequences. Naidu stressed that the HFA supports the goal of universal health care, but says it must be practical, affordable and rooted in South Africa's current economic realities.
Universal health coverage, right, is a goal that everyone actually achieves, and even we as HFA aspire to achieve. Now, however, the funding mechanism to get to UHC is NHI, and that's what's in the Act. And that is actually what we're challenging. So we're not challenging UHC, we're challenging the NHI Act. And the reason why we're doing that is because we firstly appointed independent economic experts to do an understanding of what is the impact of the current NHI Act. And our analysis came back and said the NHI model is actually fiscally impossible.
More on these and other stories at 11.
Power traffic.
A very good morning to you once again. We start off in Germiston. If you're traveling on the M2 westbound, you can expect delays as you're traveling out of central Germiston heading towards the Geldenhuys interchange. If you're traveling on the R59 north in Alberton, traffic is very slow as you're going through the Reading interchange, joining at the N12 eastbound. Central Joburg, if you're traveling on the M2 westbound, there's some queuing traffic to expect there as well. That as you're approaching the Main Reef Road intersection, those delays are from the Crown interchange. If you're traveling on Albertina Sisulu Road eastbound in Fordsburg, there's some queuing traffic with delays starting shortly after Church Street, heading towards the Oriental Plaza. If you're in Sunning Hill or traveling towards Sunning Hill from Midrand, the N1 South is experiencing a lot of pressure. There seems to be an incident that's happened before the Rivonia Road exit, and that's what's causing those delays that are from the Baklu interchange, also affecting traffic on the N3 northbound as you're headed towards the Baklu interchange. And that's it from me this morning. You can catch your next Power Traffic update this afternoon on the Power Drive. For Power Traffic, I'm Luham Pukela.
Power traffic.
Did you know that 1 in 2 people may experience piles? It's more common than you think, and there's no need to suffer in silence. Anusol is the UK's #1 selling treatment for piles. The ointment and suppositories soothe itching, relieve discomfort, and reduce inflammation. And for everyday hygiene, Anusol's flushable wipes are hypoallergenic and kind to sensitive skin. Ask your pharmacist for Anusol. Available at Clicks, Dis-Chem and leading pharmacies.
It's a tough day for Mark. Tight deadlines and challenges everywhere. But Mark can rest easy, because when he bought his Hino 700 2845 truck tractor, he received a complimentary service plan covering up to 210,000 kilometers for short haul and up to 280,000 kilometers for long haul. Nice one, Mark. Visit your dealer today to find out more about this limited time offer. Hino, all the way. T's and C's apply.
There's been a lot of talk, but here's what's real. The National Lottery is still here, still running, still paying out, and we can still win big. Play Powerball and Powerball Plus for 30 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Friday. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Power Breakfast on Power 98.7.
It's been really a strange few days, but I am convinced we have lessons to learn here. So let's not just get distracted. This is about the politics of distraction. And the beauty of Trump, the only beauty of Trump, is that this is actually exactly what happens in every other normal political space right now, where in the front you're being distracted by things. Trump and Elon are showing us in the background. There are deals between friends, there's patronage, there's all of that. And that distraction that politics has become is keeping us away from seeing that people are making deals for themselves, nothing to do with the people they're supposed to serve.
Power Breakfast with Tessa Dooms, weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. Power Talk with Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, where your voice is heard and opinion matters.
Come back, Bantwana Benkosi. We're going to move now to a very important historical figure here in our country and certainly in black history in general. I've got an interesting debate, and I think at some point, maybe 30 minutes is not enough. We should create enough time to unpack precisely who Nongqawuse is. I'm joined by Dr. Klaas, who is the author of Triangle of 100 Years War, and he's a sociologist, historian, and explorer. Thanks very much for creating time, Doc, particularly coming through to the studio.
Also, thank you so much for allowing me to be here and get the opportunity to share a bit about this book. Yeah. Doc.
We were invited into the conversation, as it were, and now I see there is an actual text, but it was an article that appeared on the Maverick, in which you are writing against a specific narrative about Nongqawuse, which you call colonial narrative. Just for the benefit of the listeners, a basic introduction of this figure, who Nongqawuse is, and how she has been, as it were, recorded in colonial history. Then we can move properly to what problems you pick and are now basing as the entire counter-narrative of your text.
Thank you, Dr. Ndlozi, and thank you for the opportunity. Maybe talk briefly about this mysterious figure, Nongqawuse. I must start by saying, to me, from where I stand and what I've researched, Nongqawuse is this fictitious figure. We don't know who was her mother, her father, her siblings, where was he born, under which chief did she reside. We don't know that. All we know about Nongqawuse is the fact that she had an uncle called Mhlakaza, who alleged to have moved from Grahamstown, now called Makhanda, to the kingdom of Amagcaleka during the reign of King Sachile, who was the son of King Yinsa. And it was a time when Amaxhosa were engaged in the wars of resistance against the British Empire in Southern Africa. So now we hear about this figure, Nongqawuse, alleged to have approached King Sachile. You can imagine a 14-year-old passing the parents, the protocol in their village, the Nkosi, and then going to talk to the king and says they must kill their cattle. Now, the interesting thing about this then, Doc, is they said that Nongqawuse then instructed them to kill their cattle, which they did. My assessment is that how can Amaxhosa listen to a 14-year-old to kill their cattle? Because the cattle to Amaxhosa at that time were the representation of the past, the present, and the future.
But what was the reason given by the record as you know it, like for why? What was the point of this killing of cattle?
I think
surely the kings are not, as you describe, dumb, and if a person presents that statement or such a narrative, would say on what basis they would be persuaded.
The interesting thing, let's go to the author who first wrote this, was Professor Jeff Perez in his book, The Dead Will Arise. What is interesting about Perez, if you interrogate his book, in as much as on one hand he claims that Amaxhosa listened to the prophetess Nongqawuse, on the other hand he's got a line in the book where he says, everywhere where there was an increase of cattle lung sickness, it was often followed by cattle killing.
No, before Prof, just basic.
Yes.
What is this story? So that when you dispel it, see, sonke we are on the same page.
Yes.
What is the story of Nongqawuse?
The story of Nongqawuse, in simple terms, is a claim that there was a young prophetess who informed King Hashelim that they must kill their cattle, and then they will be wealthy, more cattle will come. And then apparently then King Hashelim influenced the other second kingdom of Amaxhosa, King Sandile, to do the same thing. And then the story says that then Amaxhosa killed and massacred their cattle over a period of 2 years. And then after that, then it was followed by famine. After that, then the white settlers who were in Grahamstown are the ones who came and saved Amaxhosa.
But
now let me just finish this part.
As a prophetess, was that her first prophecy?
It's not clear. As I said, it just appeared according to their narrative. He was 14 years old.
She was 14.
She was, yes, she was.
Okay. And what qualified her as a prophetess, as it were?
It's not clear, but what made her what solidified the claim is the fact that it was often supported by missionaries, by people like Reverend Tiosoga and others who believed in that, saying that prophecy was important for it to happen, for Amaxhosa to die, so that they can be redeemed. That's how the whole story is. The prophetess came, they killed their cattle, they died in large numbers, the white settlers saved them, and then the remaining people at that time then were redeemed. They were able to follow God. And a number of other products of missionary schools stick to that claim. So they were able to appropriate the prophetess and the prophecy and say it was necessary for the redemption of Amaxhosa.
And one of these is
the Reverend Tiosoga. And there are a number of writers, if you look at them, who were saying it was necessary for it to happen.
This is the composer of Liza Listing.
Yes. They said this thing was important. Remember, also for them, they were the products of missionary schools. So we believe that it was necessary for Amaxhosa to die so that they succumb to the establishment and they become employees, they become civilized, and then they obey the establishment.
So what is then the counter-narrative you are presenting? Systemically, just present it for us.
Systematically, counter-narrative is that if you look at any event, Doc, in history, you must always look at that event in the context of what happened, especially prior to the event. That's very important. Because the mistake we often made when we look at events that happened in the past, we don't look at the context. And that's the danger of the historians and the writers of that time. Systematically, I locate that story in the era of the wars of resistance. Imagine here, there were people who were fighting for 100 years. Imagine here, the British built 44 forts in a triangle between Gqeberha, Graaff-Reinet and Mthatha. It's a small place, but 44 forts were built, 62 military posts were built, people died. So locate this story then in that context. When did this story they claim to happen? 1856 and 1857. Let's stop there. What happened prior to that? 3 years before that, the British lost 3 consecutive wars to Amaxhosa in 1835, 1846, 1850.
In 1835, was which war?
It was the War of Windsor. We started on the shores of the War of. It's called the War of Windsor.
Yes.
This war was triggered by shooting of Prince Xhoxho, one of the great sons of King Nqika.
The second one?
And the second one is the War of 1846. They used to call it the War of X, but I redefined it as the War of Sandile, which happened before King Sandile. It was King Sandile versus Major General John Hare. Yes. And then the third war was the War of Mlanjeni, where I say Amaxhosa then drew a line on the sand on that war.
Okay. So these wars, the British suffer significant defeat.
Yes. And people were saying, for example, Doc, to say, Dr. Klaus, it's not true to say the British were defeated. I said, okay, let's make one example. Go to the War of Windsor in 1835. Look at the outcomes of the war. After that war, the general, Smith, was fired. Governor said Benjamin Deben was fired. The Boers embarked on the Great Trek to leave the Cape and establish Transvaal and Orange Free State. So who was defeated? Go to the Second War of 1846. Don't even go and debate the war. Look at the outcomes. The general who led that war, Major General John Hare, the Knight of Hanover, resigned and died of heart attack and was buried in the island of St. Helena. Who won? Go to the War of Mlanjeni. Don't debate about who was killing who. Look at the outcomes. Smith and Somerset were fired. The British sent Fordyce. He was killed in Mount Misery. And the war ended.
So you're saying that it was in light of these wars.
Yes.
I want you to land, as it were.
Yes.
That then the prophecy comes into the picture.
Okay, let's go back to my counter argument. The British are defeated. Just have a picture of the sequence. They lost 3 wars up to 1853. Something significant at the end of that war. They sent a governor, Sir George Grey. Interestingly, Grey was not a military man. All the governors who were there before him, from 1806 up to 1853, were military men. But this one was not military. So it tells you that there was a change of policy in Britain to come up with another form of war. Now, they discovered that one of the reasons why Amaxhosa were able to wage the wars, they had productive capabilities in the form of cows. He arrives towards 1854. Look at the sequence. 1855, the Amaxhosa start experiencing a foreign cattle lung sickness, which was lethal, contagious. If you've got 100 cows, if one cow comes in, it wipes them all because it was contagious and lethal. So this disease started spreading only in the areas of Amaxhosa. It didn't spread to Abatembu. It didn't spread to Amampondo and Mampondomise. It was only affecting these people who were fighting the British wars. Now, around 1855, the Amaxhosa, after they noticed the pattern of the disease, they started killing the infected cattle, which is called a culling. So the cattle culling was done in 1856, 1857. Interestingly, Doc, is the same period Prof. Perez claimed in his book
that Amaxhosa
killed it as a response to Nongqawuse. And interestingly, as I said earlier on, he contradicts himself by acknowledging the correlation between the cattle lung sickness and the cattle killing. So my argument is, it's not correct to say Amaxhosa killed their cattle as a response to Nongqawuse. They killed cattle as a form of doing cattle culling to stop the spread of the diseases. But unfortunately, around 1857, the disease decimated about 90% of the cattle of Amaxhosa.
Now, let us say this as a question. Are you claiming that the lung disease was actually the British poisoning the cattle of Amaxhosa?
That is my argument. Not only that, I call it the British biological weapon of cattle decimation, targeting the productive capabilities of Amaxhosa.
So I'm saying that you are saying they had a biological weapon.
Yes. They brought it.
So did in any way a biologist or associated, since you and I know you are a historian, not quite a medical historian, did you find a way to mobilize that at that time, this capacity for transfer from Europe or wherever, or concoction of such a disease was already there in the capabilities of the British Army?
In my investigation, one, I established that there was such a disease existing in Europe. That's number one. I established that in my research. Two, I established that there is evidence that there were cattle coming from Europe which landed at Table Bay around 1855.
With the disease?
With the disease.
But could they have survived that long?
No, maybe the issue is that if they were brought in, the question you must ask, how many of them were brought in and how many survived? And then after then these cattle landed in Table Bay, according to one journal I read, written by Andreas in 2005, then this disease then started spreading from the Cape, which is around Table Bay, to the region of Nongqawuse.
So it was not only killing the Xhosa cows, it was killing everyone's cows, including the British.
I'm not sure about killing the British cows, because my argument with them, what this journal did, he made a scientific investigation. He discovered that there were lots of cattle hides that were in abundance at that time, especially in the region of Nongqawuse. Remember, if you kill a cattle, then you sell the skin. So there was a significant number of that was found in the area of the trading routes from Galega land down to the Cape.
But this evidence of biological weapon lies, it seems to me, on a proof that in the British Army and scientific circles, specifically maybe even intelligence, they had the capacity to preserve in some form a disease of that nature injected to the Xhosas as a strategy to defeat them. One. Or two, if you say it was a coincidence of the infection of their own cows, surely even their own cows, unless they had a vaccine and the Xhosas didn't, but surely it would have killed not just the Xhosa cows, but the rest of their cows, since it's their cows that are infecting them. There seems to be a gap there. I'll have you think about that. Second question. What was the significance in the war of the cattle? Is it only in a sense that now that there was famine, then the British could defeat them? Is that the point?
In my first question, I don't think this was a disease that was cooked in laboratories in Britain. I don't say that.
Okay.
But I'm saying this was an opportunistic act taken by the authorities at that time. When they realized that there's this disease happening in Europe, then they made their calculations that if you take these cattle down to the Cape that are infected, then you've got if you can maybe transport, let's say 1,000, maybe 100 will finally arrive in the Cape if you make a destination.
But now, wouldn't that have to be confirmed by a biologist that is possible? Because in the 2 years where the disease is spreading, is killing 90% of thousands and thousands of cows, you'd have to measure the capacity of the disease, how long a cow lasts, to be able to calculate if they could survive a voyage on sea between, and 1,000 cows in a sheep as well.
But
let me go back to Nongqawuse. Couldn't it be that Nongqawuse says these cows must be killed just as a practical solution to the fact that they have a disease? In order for us to survive, we can't eat them, otherwise we too will be sick. Let us kill them to get rid of the disease and new cows will come. And didn't that happen?
I still don't believe in that, because remember, geographically, Nongqawuse was located around today what we call Willowvale and Butterworth. But this disease started around Grahamstown, Alice, Middle Drift, Kaiskamawuk, because those are the people who were in the forefront of these wars. So the people who started experiencing the issue of cattle killing were the ones who were the neighbors of the British settlers around Grahamstown. So Nongqawuse was far on the other side. So for me, all I'm saying in my argument was that, one, the fact that we are able to establish scientifically from that scientific journal that, yes, indeed, cattle did land in Table Bay around that time.
But were they infected?
That's what the journalist says. They were infected cattle that landed in Table Bay. These were Friesland cows. Were meant to come probably improve the breeding and so on. But these cattle were infected. According to the journalist, he says, because they were trading routes from Table Bay up to the Eastern Cape, then these cattle were able to move through that table route. And he even says that then they affected predominantly the areas of Nongqawuse from Port Elizabeth as you go up to the Kai River, East London. And that is sufficient. Then maybe coming back to a point of Nongqawuse, that she may have noticed that. I'm not sure because of the geographical distance, because she is in Willowvale, and people have started experiencing this around Port Elizabeth. And I don't see that link there. But all I'm saying, interesting enough that Nongqawuse were neighbors with Abatembu, were neighbors with Amampondo, but those kingdoms were not affected.
By the disease.
By the disease. Secondly, even if you read in
and what is your explanation of that? Because those people were not resisting colonization.
Remember, for me, my explanation, this was deliberate. These cattle were planted deliberately.
But why not kill also the Batembu and
because they never fought the
Kondo?
British.
Because they are not fighting.
Yeah.
Okay. So the disease was meant for these ones that are resisting.
Exactly.
Now, my other question is a simple one. Because prophet's work is not to be, in most of the cases, read very literally. I wonder what's wrong with a person saying once there is a plague, and the manner to remove it is kill all the livestock so that a new livestock that does not have the disease can arise. What's wrong with that?
The problem with that, Doc, that narrative omits the angle of the infected cattle. It doesn't mention it.
But be that as it may, maybe they didn't have, this is the prophetess.
No, I'm talking about the writers.
I'm saying this story is believed by Xhosas. You established that already. Tiosoga, blah, blah, blah. Their agency is important. That they're not just dumb people. You have to also account for the fact that, so if they buy to the story, I'm saying perhaps, don't you consider the fact that it was the practicality of, you have the benefit of history, disease, biological weapon and all of that, because we're in 2025. But at the time, that could have been explained in a much more different and complicated way on the basis of the levels of knowledge at the time. And it could have just been, in order for us to survive this plague, kill all the cows. The new ones won't have the disease. I think why is that not a good prophecy?
I think no. Doc, the big problem with that is often portraying Nongqawuse as victims of their own stupidity. That is what worries me.
But to believe a prophecy wouldn't be stupid. Why is it wrong to believe a prophecy?
It's wrong because it hides the fact that
there was an infection.
We're reacting to the cat lung sickness, a biological weapon. Because once you lower it to Nongqawuse's thing, you are actually exonerating.
Why can't it be both?
No, I don't want to believe it's even be both. My point, I want to stick to the point that these were the people who fought 3 wars. A biological weapon was brought in. That is my argument.
Yeah.
And because the moment you go to the east of Nongqawuse, you exonerate the introduction of the biological weapon of cattle destruction. 2, you put the whole blame of the cattle death to Nongqawuse. 3, then you portray them that actually you were responsible for your own conquest.
Yeah.
We're clean, Tina. We didn't do anything to you. Tina, we actually saved you. We saved them. Like even when I went to the farm where Nongqawuse is buried, the 2 guys who are there
no longer. There's a grave.
There's a grave.
Not a fictitious figure.
Yeah, there's a grave.
Okay.
So when I went there, they told me that they were called Opekinkobe because they used to plow mills for people who were hungry at that time. There was a lot of famine. But my point is how the story is being captured. Because you go to people, you fight them. You don't defeat them. You bring this cattle lung sickness.
You cause famine.
That's my point. And then now you say when you write the story, they died because of their stupidity. They believed. That is where I've got a big problem with.
Yeah.
And my point is I want to make it clear. The other thing, Doc, I want to put, which people don't like, is the fact that actually Nongqawuse are the only nation in the entire history of British imperialism whose conquest was never attained in the battlefield. They had to resort to a cat lung sickness That's what they were wanting to fight. That's what they wanted to hide. Other people, yes, were captured militarily, but not these ones.
Steve Libilo and Nare will try and get back to this conversation another time. 30 minutes is not too long. I wish you can come back, Prof, and it would be interesting to get people who were in defense of Nongqawuse. President Mbeki said he's a child of Nongqawuse, I'm an African. But there are people who give a lot of value to that story. And I think that perhaps there is a way to represent it, not as a story that is not theirs, but to represent it as a story that was used by the British to write the Xhosas out, but not as a story that they themselves fell to stupidity. Maybe there's a way to salvage this figure of Nongqawuse, because I'm thinking these are smart people. They can't have just all these 200 years believed that there was Nongqawuse. It's just that part, but
maybe to bring
the argument.
To bring fairness, we can invite Prof. Jeff Perez,
yes,
who first wrote this.
Next week.
Yeah, no, he's still alive.
Next week.
Yeah, and then invite the recent author who wrote this book about Nongqawuse.
Yes.
And then we bring it on.
In the panel.
Yeah, because I'm confident about the story.
Lovely. Thank you. It's 1100 hours here on Power Talk, Bantwana Benkosi. After the news, Hashelim Mhlophe. Let's take the news with Nyakalo Tefu.
Power News.
Thanks, Mbuyiseni. The top stories at the Sawa. President Cyril Ramaphosa calls on Minister of Higher Education to account for her recent conduct in Parliament, and the DA calls for the establishment of an anti-corruption commission. With the news at 11, a very good morning to you. I'm Nyakalo Tefu. President Cyril Ramaphosa has called on Minister of Higher Education Dr Nongqawuse to account for her recent conduct in Parliament. The President has formally requested a detailed report following last week's heated Portfolio Committee session, where the minister's behaviour reportedly raised concerns amongst MPs. In addition to clarifying her actions, Minister Nongqawuse has also been instructed to submit a comprehensive explanation of the process used to appoint board members to the Sector Education and Training Authority. These appointments were at the centre of intense scrutiny during the parliamentary session. The presidency has emphasised the importance of transparency and accountability in public office and said it expects the report to be submitted without delay. Here's presidency spokesperson Vincent Magwenya.
The President has requested that the Minister provide him with a detailed report on the decorum and substance of her engagement with Parliament. In this regard, the President will also appreciate a report on the process undertaken to appoint the board members to the SETA, the Sector Education and Training Authorities. The request for the report is in view of the President's expectation that ministers, deputy ministers, and senior executives in the public sector conduct themselves professionally.
The DA is calling for the establishment of an anti-corruption commission to ensure serious corruption and high-level organised crime is investigated and prosecuted. The party is currently briefing the media on the National Prosecuting Authority's failures to priority crimes and state capture cases. Advocate Glenys Breitenbach has since outlined bold reforms to combat what the party regards as a deepening crisis. Now, this follows what the DA described as a string of recent failings, including the collapse of the Omotoso trial and the NPA's handling of the extradition of Morwadi Cholota, personal assistant to former Free State Premier Ace Magashule. Breitenbach proposes for the Anti-Corruption Commission to be independent and report only to Parliament.
Currently, the Democratic Alliance has a private members' bill before Parliament, the Constitution 21st Amendment Bill. The bill proposes the establishment of an anti-corruption commission as a solution to getting South Africa off the grey list. The Constitution 21st Amendment Bill, or the Scorpions 2.0 Bill as people like to call it, will establish the Anti-Corruption Commission, a body tasked with investigating and prosecuting serious corruption, high-level organised crime as a Chapter 9 body.
She also proposed for sufficient budget to combat crime efficiently.
Anti-Corruption Commission up to negotiate with Treasury sufficient budget to be used to combat crime effectively. What we're seeing at the moment is that the National Prosecuting Authority budget is determined really by the Department of Justice and has on year for the last probably 10 years been slashed. So there's no surprises there that they're not managing.
Lukhanyo Qalata, the son of slain anti-apartheid activist Fort Qalata, was the first witness to take the stand at the inquest into the deaths of the Cradock Four as it continues at the Gqeberha High Court in the Eastern Cape. Qalata delivered emotional testimony as he recounted the trauma surrounding his father's brutal killing at the hands of apartheid-era police. He revealed harrowing details of how security police allegedly burned the bodies of the Cradock Four. Fort Qalata, Matthew Koniwe, Sparrow Mkhonto and Scelo Mhlauli in an attempt to make them unrecognizable. The inquest, which was reopened decades after the 1985 murders, seeks to uncover the full truth behind the killings and bring long-awaited justice to the victims' families. Here's Lukhanyo Qalata.
The mutilated bodies were found spread out over a wide area in the Red House and Blue Water Bay areas on the outskirts of Port Elizabeth. The bodies, and especially the faces, were doused with petrol and set on fire with the intention of rendering them unrecognizable and therefore not identifiable.
And Zambia is mourning the death of former President Edgar Lungu, a controversial but influential figure in the country's modern political history. He was at the age of 68. Lungu passed away in South Africa while receiving specialized treatment for an undisclosed illness. He served as president from 2015 to 2021, navigating economic challenges and pushing development, but also drawing criticism over alleged human rights abuses and governance concerns. Despite the controversy, his influence on Zambia's political direction remains significant. His sudden death marks the end of a pivotal era in Zambia's post-independence journey. Power News' Nongqawuse unpacks the story behind Edgar Lungu's political journey and recent developments.
Edgar Lungu served as Zambia's president from 2015 to 2021. His leadership spanned 6 years, marked by economic struggles, rising national debt and increasing concerns over human rights and authoritarian tendencies. In the 2021 election, he was decisively defeated by Hakainde Hichilema, ending his tenure in office and stepped back from politics. Later, he sought to run again but was barred by the Constitutional Court due to term limits. The Patriotic Front confirmed his death, saying he had been receiving specialized treatment in South Africa. His daughter Tasila Lungu said he had been under close medical care. Now Lungu's passing closes a major chapter in Zambia's history, with tributes pouring in across the region. Ndlozi, Power News.
A look at your financial indicators. The rand is trading at 17 rand 76 cents to the US dollar, 24 rand 5 cents to the pound, 20 rand 28 cents to the euro. Gold's trading at $3,366.78 a fine ounce. Our Brent crude oil is at $65.17 a barrel. Recapping the top story in Power News at this hour, President Cyril Ramaphosa calls on Minister of Higher Education to account for her recent conduct in Parliament.
Power News. On FM, online, and DSTV channel 889. This is Power 98.7.
This is Power 98.7. And now you're listening to Power Talk with Mbuyiseni and Ndlozi. 9 a.m. to midday. Taking your calls on 0861 987 000.
Sibamba kulukuni ngamabuzi masithetele ngoba sizinzi ngoba sizinzi zosafu Sibamba kulukuni ngamabuzi masithetele ngoba sizinzi ngoba sizinzi zosafu Sibamba kulukuni ngamabuzi masithetele ngoba sizinzi ngoba sizinzi zosavuma
Katushizo awe baba ngampela ufaka amanyofana ubaba ongizalayo lo ho uyaphi lo dlala la ubaba khona usho mnikiwe muzi uqoqoma nendlu yonke hlehla phose nakwaphakwa ukoshamele lo dlala nentombi awubonzi kwedlula izinto mthinte onamaphutha enkulu lapho Sululu ukuthi hamba uvula kwamhlaba qhizi sethele zidana sabedini uye njalo umafutha empuku lo ungaphathi ngabe khululeka wali bavu
Thank you. Abasebenzi bamamayini love this song. The Kosatu rallies used to bang with this song.
Sure.
Because iMaskandi, as you would know, all of you Bantwana Benkosi, it's the music of the working class. It's the music of the migrants who have to go look for a better living. We're joined by the legendary Hashelim. You can hear my breathing. I was dancing. Welcome, Baba. Ngiyabonga kakhulu for creating time to come join us here in studio. I think I want to start in an unusual place. People don't start here a lot. There is a song I want to play. Then I want to proceed to the opening of the conversations.
Okay.
There is a song called Toba. Yeah. Because I want to start with something a lot of us in this generation, and I think generations also that you come from, struggle with. Uthando. And the role of your queen in the making of the legend that you are. I want to start there, but Lamadoda Ayang Mosha, I gave them the list. That's why the judge there in the court but Baba, I want to start with Palabur. When you meet umuntu wakho.
Yes.
Just take me through that.
Yeah, sasiyo performer khona lapha. Parabola bengisebenza nenye iband abathi Mthembu Queens bengidlala ibass kubo. Saba ne show ke eseparabola, and then nomngane wami uSikhumbuzo sathi awuthi share around, sashaya around ke ngampela. Sahlangana nenye intombazana. Wayimisa kuSikhumbuzo ngathi ukuqhela mina. The late uSikhumbuzo alale ngoxolo shem. Kwaqhamuka lentokazi ke. Hayi ngayibona ngathi hayi
awukwazi ukubamba ikhandla.
Hayi hayi mayifika ngambingelela ngaqala ngabuza kule ntombazana ngathi le ntombazana esalapha yazi wathi hey nayo uyacula hayi mayifika ngambingelela ngithi hayi ngiyezwa kuthiwa uyacula awungiculele nami athi hayi ngisawupheka ngizobuya ngizokuculela hayi ngampela waba neqiniso hayi wabuya mayibuya hayi wangiculela awashayele mama ukuthi waculela thina shaya ntombazane.
What was the song, ma?
Okay. Right.
Hey.
When I find myself in times of troubles, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be. 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 There will be an answer. Let it be.
Ngamandla ngesa.
At least yayisekhona ngokumthetho kumele nje ife ime.
Hayi ngase ngizama ukuyirecruiter intokazi le ukuthi sijoyine ebandini yethu. Hayi ngiyashela futhi ngaleso sikhathi ethi hayi wena umngani wami ngoba sahlala ngazi how many days khona lapha eParabo. Ngiyashela ethi hayi wena umngani ngathi angisumngani wakho mina. Ezomngani angingeni. Mina ngiyakuthanda nje.
Yeah.
Hayi ngimrecruiter nokuthi ajoin iband yethu hayi avume mase sihamba angitshela ukuthi simlinde kuphi. Hayi ngampela sifike sime lapho simlinde lutho umuntu. Hayi bathethe manje abantu engihamba hayi lo muntu wakho unamanga ngithi hayi kancane sime kancane.
Yeah.
Kodwa sasizagcina sihamba engafiki. Masifika la eGoli ngakhuluma neowner yeband ubaba uMthembu. Athi baba uMthembu thina sicula baba umbhaqanga yabo. Khona intombazane eParabo hey baba uyacula. Athi kimi uyaphila kahle nomfana kanti uyazi ukuphiParabo usuka la. Hey benimncenga lo baba but kwesinye isikhathi ukuziphatha kahle emsebenzini uhloniphe. Kuyenza nawe uma usufuna izinto nalophethe abuyabona ukuthi hey kodwa ngithi ngimsize lo muntu. Ngoba one day ngathi ngoba benginele ngimbone nje ngimtshela ukuthi baba eParabo. One day ngathi mangithi baba wathi kusasa ulungu ungasaqedi kusasa ulungu sambe. Hey angilalanga lelo la. Lokhu ngivuka ngivula umnyango akasi namanje. Mayiqale vuka hayi ngase ngimungasemotini.
Yeah.
Angampela sahamba ke. Sashona khona eParabo masifika lapho. Hayi sathola ukuthi nomama wakhe ufikile ukhona lapha la bebule band abe kuyabaleka emculweni naye wayebalekile.
Yeah.
Nami nje ngabaleka ngisefika kuyabalekwa nje. Hayi ngenhlanhla ke kwathola ukuthi lo baba uMthembu nomama wakhe uMamthembu. Hayi base bekhuluma ke language eswanayo bona. But sase sihamba sedlula kubo ke manje etsanini enkwankwa. Hayi kwabamnandi ke ngiyashela intombi ayiqombi hey sihlale kuze kwenzeke sigcine sihlale emzini owodwa esola. Mangithi hayi makwathiwa nje mangithi hayi awuhlale isikhulume hey sidla phansi intombazana. But uma umuntu umthanda uphela umoya. Ngoba ukhuluma iqiniso nje besibancane yes. But mina ngathi mangimbona nje ngathi hayi lo hayi unkosikazi yena.
Yeah. Today kule inkathi esiphila kuzo the role of a woman in the life of a man is still something amadoda amaningi particularly in South Africa struggling with. Kuhlonipha nokuthatha isupport ukuzithoba uvume uvume ukuthi umuntu akusupport abelieve kuwe until you are in a good position to return the favor, your story. And I suppose it included having to be strong against family members that did not understand why you are together, against parents that did not understand why you are together. Just tell us about ukubaleka kaleyo relationship in your making as an artist, that you have become so huge at the moment.
Yeah, okokuqala into enzeka ke emculweni. Umama waduma kuqala kunami. Mayiduma umama hey sebenza nestimela. Shaya ingoma edumile hey wangena hey. Leso sikhathi bekunzima kakhulu. Bengiphuma ngiyosebenza ngibuye no50 rand. Aphuma umama osebenza ebuye nento esicishe sibale kuse. Bathi ke yazi uNkulunkulu wenza izinto abantu abangazicabanga. Hayi intombazane hayi ibisebenza hayi ikhole kahle hey mina nje hayi bengahambi kahle hayi bathi bebuya nemali yonke endlini ibalwe hayi awufuna ukuya driving school ngithi hayi ngiyafuna hayi ngempela ngaye driving school ngathola license awufuna imoto ngiyayifuna sahamba sangena eJudicial lapha sabheka emagarage hayi ngayikhombi Colt happy blue ngathi hayi ngifuna le hayi sayithenga imoto ya ngasho ukuthi ukuduma kwami kubuye ngakumama because ube sedumile waqala manje waphuma hey angifunela ama interview amaphepha ama radio ingoma zami ebizaqala ukudlalwa nasemsakazweni ya udumo loqhamuka lapho nakimi sasebenza kanjalo ngeke ngasebenza naye full time besithola koBotswana bengihlala ikeyboard ngimvulela neshow bengihlala ikeyboard ebhendini yakhe yeah.
But many people in South Africa, I mean, ukuhlukunyezwa kwabantu besifazane and all of that, uma uthi uyabuka, it's because they can't take a strong woman. Ubaba uyikhona kanjani? If you were to advise, particularly with this idea that she was a star.
Yes.
And there you are. Surely your friends were like, you know, i-role yomuntu wesifazane empilweni yakhe kumele abe ngaphansi kuwe and all of that. How did you navigate your friends, the cultural pressures, including on her side? What is the secret of that particular journey in your life, if you were to tell young people today?
Yeah, mina empilweni yami my best friend umntwana 24/7 sisonke but the background yami la ngibuya khona ekhaya ngoba bena 8 amakhosikazi. Yes, abomama nje bebe 8 ekhaya, thina kumama uyomdala besu 11 kumama. Ubaba ilo muntu obengatshelwa nje ukuthi akekho umuntu ubekhuluma nabo mama uthi ongafuni lento engiyenzayo akahambe. Nathi nami sengishadile athi yini le vumela unkosikazi akushaya uma umfazi akubeka uphawu. But ngendlela umuntu akhule ngayo nawe uyasithatha isinqumo, mhlawumbe ungakahlakaniphi kahle ubona ngathi kuhle, kodwa mawusuhlakaniphile uyabona ukuthi no lento ayikho impilo la. uNkulunkulu kwangibusisa ngonkosikazi ohlakaniphile. Mawungangibona nje ndodana ngigqokile nje okubona ukuthi kuhle, angithengi lutho nje ayikho into engithengayo, ngifuna yena athenge ngigqokela yena, akekho umunye umuntu athi hayi lokhu ya hayi kuhle. Yes, noma ngeke afika ngiphathele. Yeah, into enjalo siyakhohlwa kwesinye isikhathi ukulandela neswi, because iswi lithi umfazi ohlakaniphile uyawakha owakho umusi ngezandla zakhe, but kufuneka indoda imnikeze ama rights. Because indoda mayingafuni ufuna kube yiyo phambili. uNkulunkulu iswi belikhuluma lokho ngoba lazi ukuthi khona la abesimama abahlakaniphe khona. Yes.
If you've just joined us, this is Power Talk here on Power 987 with me, Dr Ndlozi. I've got in studio Hashelim but if you want to interact with him, 0861987000. Before we go to the headlines, so tata nje ama headlines, but ngifuna we must pass here. This is who we are talking about, Bantwana Benkosi.
Good morning. In news making headlines at the Sawa, Executive Mayor of the city of Ekurhuleni, Nongqawuse, is set to brief the media today to address recent council resolutions and the city's handling of governance issues. The mayor is expected to provide clarity on the city's response to key governance concerns and to outline decisive steps being implemented to strengthen accountability, promote transparency and safeguard the integrity of public service delivery. This comes as part of the mayor's broader commitment to renewing the public service, a key theme in his recent State of the City address. Here's mayoral spokesperson Rama Tolo Tlotling.
The Executive Mayor of the city of Ekurhuleni, Alderman Nongqawuse, will hold a media briefing to address the media and public on recent council resolution and the city's approach to consequence management relating to developments at the Summit Building. The media briefing will provide clarity on the city's response to governance concerns and on outline steps being taken to uphold accountability, transparency and service delivery integrity.
In other news, President Cyril Ramaphosa has called on Minister of Higher Education Dr Ndlozi to account for her recent conduct in Parliament. The President has formally requested a detailed report following last week's heated Portfolio Committee session where the minister's behaviour reportedly raised concerns among MPs. In addition to clarifying her actions, Minister Nkabani has also been instructed to submit a comprehensive explanation of the process used to appoint board members to the Sector Education and Training Authority. These appointments were at the centre of intense scrutiny during the parliamentary session. The presidency has emphasised the importance of transparency and accountability in public office and said it expects the report to be submitted without delay. His presidency spokesperson Vincent Magwenya.
The President has requested that the Minister provide him with a detailed report on the decorum and substance of her engagement with Parliament. In this regard, the President will also appreciate a report on the process undertaken to appoint the board members to the SETA, the Sector Education and Training Authorities. The request for the report is in view of the President's expectation that ministers, deputy ministers and senior executives in the public sector conduct themselves professionally.
More on these and other stories at 12.
A bowl of cereal, a glass of orange juice, some flavored yogurt for breakfast. Ultra-processed products such as these may be high in sugar, salt, or saturated fat. Having too much of these products could lead to diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease. Our health is in danger. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels now. Sign the petition on heala.org. HEALA.org.
In a world where business moves at lightning speed, staying ahead means embracing innovation. From digitizing government, private 5G networks, and safeguarding businesses from cyber threats, MTN Business is at the forefront of change, driving conversations that move industries forward. Power Business is proudly brought to you by MTN, Monday to Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. MTN. Today, we make moves.
Our dealer services over 40 cars.
We have the best special.
Best sales executive.
If you need a trading evaluation, contact me.
That's too much noise. If you're in the market to buy or service a car and the noises of all the options out there is overwhelming, speak to Hatfield Motor Group. With over 14 brands, 51 dealers, and a website featuring more than 3,500 vehicles, we make it easy. Apply for finance, book a service, and find a part, all in one place.
Hatfieldgroup.co.za, rated #1 in service.
Power 98.7 weekends. All your favorite hit music all weekend long. From yesteryear's classics to today's hits.
I come over when he's not there.
If it isn't a hit, we don't play it. From Friday evenings with Nongqawuse.
Hello to the weekend. So how are you feeling? Leshabo fella.
To late night music dates with Kanya Susibo.
I am your song selector. I'm the one behind the decks for your personal party.
And early weekend morning hangouts with AK Shabalala. We've got all your sing-alongs on lock.
Welcome to this show. You and I are going to have a fabulous time.
Ndlozi jams up your Saturdays on Power Jams.
With this good power music, we transition from the morning to noon as you solidify the plans for the Saturday.
With Khoshikgadi Rangata taking you through nostalgic music on Power Experience.
Yet another season of the Power Experience. The promise remains good music, good company, a promise that I'm making, a promise that I will keep when I get out here.
Power 98.7 music. Now we're talking. Connect with Mbuyiseni on X at Mbuyiseni Ndlozi.
Tell me about this song.
Lingapha nami ngangenela nje ngathi iculo likumama Ngqo.
They tell me about a moment nanhlala nonke Soweto and uma stand wanxosha in the middle of the night.
Yo, hey kwakunzima and leso sikhathi umama Ngqo bekhulele uNathi umfana wethu lokuqala. Sasifika futhi sibuye showini. Siqeda nje ukungena endlini eroomini masithi siyavala siyakhiya ayafika kokota masandi. Hayi ngibuze mina ubani ethi hey ubani ungibuza ukuthi ubani lo. Kukwakho la vula umnyango. Hayi sivula umnyango athi ngicela ningiphumele umusi. Saphuma ebusuku. uNkulunkulu emuhle sahamba ebusuku. Azange sihlangane ngisho nomuntu oyedwa estradini besihamba sodwa nje.
Uphethe impahla.
Ayesiphethe nje ukuphathekayo ngoba okunye kwasala embhedi yini. Hayi masifika saya komunye umngani wami. Ngathi asiyofuna kuyindawo mangabe kulale wena. Hayi mina ngizobona ukuthi ngiphuma kanjani. Hayi sahamba ngempela safike sakokotha khona abavula. Babuza ngasho ukuthi yimi bavula. Masingena nakhona abafana abaningi bandlala esitting room lapha. Umuntu nomuntu wakhe khona lapha. Hayi kokothela umama ke kamngani wami hayi simtshela ukuthi esicoshiwe manje lapha asinayo indawo ngithi hayi mama bengisele nje ukuthi manilalise nje unkosikazi ngoba ezethwele mina ngizobona ukuthi ngishonaphi. Hayi lo mama ethi awukwazi athi ngenani nani khona lapha kubo lawa balele lapha nibona ukuthi ngilala kanjani. Kwathola ukuthi vele umfana wakhona bekumngani wami salala kanjalo ke impahla zonke zayisele khona lapha. Mase sithola indawo sithi siyabuyela solanda impahla zethathe lo mama ngizazi. Ngayikhipha ngazibeka lapha. And leso sikhathi bekunzima impilo nje ibingekho.
What was the problem ma? Why enixoshelana?
Nanamhlanje asazi. Nanamhlanje asazi. I think to be honest izinto ezinje bezenzeka kwesinye isikhathi ngiye ngithi uhulumeni wethu manje oright kwezinye indawo ngoba awukwazi ukuvela usuku uqosha umuntu. Ngoba again saphinde sayohlala kwenye indawo nakhona sahamba saye ekhaya kithi siyovakasha. Njengoba esho ukuthi impilo beyingekho right. masibuya futhi sibuya nomalume wami omunye beke drive ama trucks lama hose and trade and then uyabona la emuva kunendawo le yokuhlala le space sesitholi lift khona sesiyabuya masifika khona ebusuku nakhona imbhedo seyibekiwe ukuthi hayi ingadi yami ibuyile emendweni hayi kwazi ukuswela indawo mina nginomuzi so nina nisena ndawo kanjalo uyayibona lonto so besiphila leyo mpilo leyo yokuthi ungazi ukuthi uzolala udleni nokuthi uyolalaphi and suke lapho ke futhi nakhona uhamba ufuna indawo la sagcina sihleli khona kahle ngoba bakhona abantu abanomusa kukwamthetho safika sahlala kwamthetho angazi ngoba vele umama wakhe uzalwa umamthetho kodwa bekumthethwa nje okhona and then masifika lapha yana ke umkhulu wakhona wathi indawo nginayo la ngaphandle but kuyofuna nina nifuna umkhukhu uyabona and then kula sazama khona umkhukhu kwamkhulu sahlala kahle kakhulu
If you've just joined us, this is Power Talk with me, Dr Ndlozi. We're in studio with the Nongqawuse. Hashelim shop.
Ndoda bazoze bethi mhlawumbe uneform com kaNgcobo awuthi ngizisho bese uhleli nampela ngizisho kanjena ke njengensizwa khona zophela Hashelim shop lehlala enyongo ntaba mazungula ikwele lapho uza lapha lazi isoka ngqo ngaleluya sibala amantshele njengentondolo bodla kwenye ukuyoshe esulwini ukuthi habe imvula kwamhlaba qinisa ihlehle ledlana sebedlile kuyahla kuyashela maswayibala donke madotsini mhlathebe mhlathi impondo ephinde ngezomneke mbathi emfolo zikwathi ukuthi amabhezi manje bathi mfusena ambodla imbuze ekhaya kwenyoko kusho mina ngisho kuwe yithi abantu nabelungu bayazi ungakhona ungababuza angazi ukuthi uso kanjani kutshelile ngathi ngishapha ngegrand ngimnandi ngifresh kwasha abafana ngoma sikhandu useyintweni yaphuma kanje lento yashama azathi yasithela danko.
How did you fall in love with Maskandi? Khona story sokuthi wahamba na 8 years.
Yeah, bengi
10 years.
Yes.
Where did you go uma uhamba and what was the problem ukuthi uhamba usesengane?
Mina ekhaya number 3 but ubhuti wami omdala ubengekho ekhaya nalo engimelamayo ubengekho ekhaya. Enekhaya besu 11 ngibona ingane ezisemva kwami ingane igula inwele zize zibebomvu ubona imbambo bathini khwashu hayi ngabona ukuthi la mangekho nami into engiyenzayo hayi kuzoba nzima kakhulu ngeqa ke ekhaya but isiginci bese ngisidlala because ngazakhele sami sethini ithini le fish oil but nakhona emakhaya akululu ulithole emakhaya la ngalezo khathi bengiphathisa wonke umuntu nje mangimbona ngicela ukuthi mawungathola ithini le fish oil ngiyalicela ngampela omunye ubaba wesanalo kimi wathi hayi nakho mfana lento hlala.
What happened? Lisekhona?
Alisekho.
Do you know what happened to that first instrument?
No, leyo kusho ukuthi ngathi mase ngiqala ukusebenza la bengisebenza khona bengisebenza eplazini and konke la bengiqhashwa khona bengiqhashwa ngoba ngikhala mayithi umsebenzi umlunga wokho bengikhala inyembezi ngaqashwa lapho ke ngasisebenza bengilusa inkomo kamathole umlungu akhona neplaza bengihola 250 ngenyanga.
Yes.
And uma kuphela inyanga ngithola 250 ngiphathisela umama u2 ngisale no 50 cent. Kwaya kwaze kwa imali yami lokho ikhuphuka kwafika ke manje umncane umlungu kunalo bephethe lo phethe besemdala. Lo mncane afika ngikhipheke kwelusa inkomo manje ngihambe naye ngihambe ngimvulela ama-gate aqala ukungikhupulela nemali mayithi 7.50 lezi itolo nesenithi obani thina basathi emakhaya la ungena khona uthathe besithi kwaTapashi afika kuleso sitolo kwaTapashi ngathola ukuthi kunesiginci sibiza u7.50 ayimali yami yakhuphuka njalo mayithi 5 sengihola R5.50 ngizothatha u5 ngithumela umama ngisale no 50 cent. Mayifika ku7.50 ngathumela umama umyalezo ukuthi ekhonto ngifuna ukuyithenga serious angikwazi ukumthumela imali kule nyanga ngathenga leso siginci ke la sasilapho kwaTapashi ngo7.50
and all along ubudlala lesi sunflower.
Yes bengidlala ithini
yayiphuma kahle kodwa sound.
Yeah, iphuma kahle kakhulu ngoba
Do you remember the first song that you wrote? The first song eyaza kuwe wayibhala yaba ingoma yakho.
Yes.
Before fame, everything. What was that song and what was it saying?
Emakhaya ke vele besikhula ingoma uzibhalela nje ukuthi nokuthi mhlawumbe usuvumisa insizwa labafana ngangani ngigide entabeni uqala ingoma nje ishawe isihlombe kugido ibikhona vele lento kumina yokuthi uyakwazi ukuqala ingoma. Yes. And then mase ngiqala ukurecord ingoma yami ngaqala ngayo kuyirecorda i-title yakho nethi wololo. Yes, ingoma eyadumisa iHashelim Mhlobo.
Yes.
Ona ngekudleni uyawasaba amantombazane ngeke akhanwe lo muntu wemadoda. Shishyo. And then kuso leso sikhathi ngiqeda ukuyirelease kwenzeka ukuthi umbongeni the late umbongeni ngema bayisebenzisa kuSarafina befula ngayo. Yes, bayisefika kithi ezocela ukuthi ucela ukuthi ngibajoyine iSarafina ngoba ingoma yami bavula ngayo ngibajoyine. Hey, angajabulanga kanje. Hayi mayiphuma umbongeni athi angibuze umama uthini umsini umbongeni ngithi hayi mama phela hayi kusho ukuthi umuntu sesizohamba phesheya kuphi ngibale kuphi athi mama Ngcoba uyilapha inkinga. Hayi ngithi hayibo kahle athi hayi awuyila mawuhamba hayi uyongithola ngekho nengane nami la. Hey athi no lo muntu lo igroup yakhe le uqala ingoma wena manje iqala ingene ebantwini abantu bayithanda wena usuyahamba izopromote ubani. Hey ngasho ngathi hayi usiqinisile hayi ngathi uyabona kwesinye isikhathi sike hlupheke noma singasafanele ukuhlupheka ngani ngokungamukeli iswi eliqhamuka kupartner yakho uye ngokuthi uyindoda vele naye uyakwazi ukuthi uyindoda mayizothi uyakhuluma uthi hey ngiyindoda ube ngeke agane umunye unkosikazi ugane wena vele ngoba uyindoda kodwa ukuthi nibonisane kubalekile.
Uyafuna ngiyiphendulele Ndlozi ngingena ngichaze ukuthi into eyayenza lokho ukuthi njengoba ubaba echazile ukuthi bekesanda ukurelease ialbum uhololo and mayiqeda ukurelease le album uhololo ukhumbula ukuthi uchazile ukuthi from emuva yimina bengithwele kanzima ngithwele yonke ifamily and manje ngiyabona ukuthi kuphumele album awukwazi ukupromote into yomuntu yena engekho fanele kuzwe kuma interview kuwe yonke indawo yena akekho and iHashelim Mhlophe bekuyelakhe but manje uyoyimisa kanjani indlu kamakhelwane wena yakho ungakayimisi. So udaba belulapho and bengifuna ukumchazela ukuthi you have now started something that is yours
and it's still a baby
and you can see ukuthi abantu bayayithanda and njengoba abantu bayithanda wena mawuhamba phela bekuthorwa boma 6 months labantu abekho wena awukho kusho ukuthi after that 6 months that album ubusuyicalile kusho ukuthi ifile ayisekho so uzobuya futhi uqalele phansi uyayibona lona mina ngisale ngisupport abantwana
nami I agree. Yeah. Let's take Prince in Germiston ufuna ukukhuluma something. Prince, welcome to Power Talk.
Morning doctor, how are you?
Hold on, I want you can proceed. I'm fine, thanks indeed. You get 1 minute, Prince.
Yes, no, thanks. In the morning I saw your post on X that you're hosting Hashelim Mhlophe, and I just laughed. Which there's no way you can host Hashelim Mhlophe umabangekho. So, but like Dr Ndlozi akazi I want bazabe too. But anyway, I just want to thank them. You know, they're my spiritual parents. You know, I serve under their ministry. I just want to thank them for everything that they've did. But most of all, show me the path to God. That's their thing. The love for people. I've learned a lot from them. I just want to give them their flowers. I always tell them, but I'm saying, today, let me use this platform and just share my love that I have with them. They taught me everything that I know as a man. And, you know, just want to thank them and I love you. Continue. May God bless you. Continue the love that you have for people, spreading the word to people and, you know, saving us. You know, I'm saved through them. And I just want to thank them a lot. May God bless them. And Ubaba Maga invite Lapo hosting a men's conference. May Ubaba invite Lapo to our men's conference. Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Prince.
boy. Good. Thanks so much, Prince.
So, the obvious question, You believe a lot in collaboration. You are the first artist here, Maskandi, to go outside of Maskandi. But before you did that, particularly in many genres, hip hop, rap in general, the big artists, they make them fight. We saw as well, most recently, with Maskandi. But which generation, you were not shy to go and work with people that were already well established and ignore a competition. But you also went outside the genre. Wasebenza neBumshaka, Oskido, collaborator. This collaboration as part of your musical journey.
Ngiyacabanga ukuthi ukhuliswa yikho lokho ukuthi uweqa line uyentweni ongayazi, but mawumculi uhlanganisa ama notes ufaka ivoice ikey uyayazi ukuthi ikey ikuphi, kungaba ibeat engafani nele yakho, but umculo uma ngabe kusayiwe emculweni nje jazz ngangifaka hamba naye igqomu ngangifaka ngam ngisebenzela abantu abaningi kakhulu ku industry njengobusho Bumshaka, Oskido ngenze naye uMontuza, uZola ngenze naye ingoma ethi bathi eGreetown. Ethi lezi inhlamvu ezishale emsimbeni womuntu ziyomila nini uyofuna nini ngoba umuntu ufuna lokho akutshalile hololo mama. Yes, yangisebenzele nabantu abaningi ku industry abangaculi lo mculo enguculayo and kumnandi ngisebenze no Dibonza Khuza umshuku ngabe usuzwile yebo sengizwile.
Yes,
abaningi abantu engisebenze nabo,
but kuMaskandi kwayona Phuze Chemist
no the late umfazi senze igroup besibiza ukuthi ingqunqulo. Yes,
what happened there? How did that come together?
Africa ubuntu abande bantwini.
Leo project is what happened ukuthi ngithatha isinqumo sokuthi manje kumele nisebenze nonke to do a project. What was happening?
Kusho ukuthi the late Jula no the late uBhodloza uMzimande khona ingoma abake bayenza bethi baba lazi la ulalo babe bihlekisa nje ingoma yakhona, and then base besakithi bathi bacela ukuthi sibenzele sobathathu bavele besakithi sobathathu bathi bacela ukuthi sibenzele ingoma, and then bona bazofaka lento yabo yokuhlekisa, and then sayenza ke ingoma, sazenza ingoma, masiqedile sababizi mase befika bathi hayi lento si serious kakhulu manje sicela nina niqhubeke niyenze isiqaqa sasiqala kanjalo.
I see. A lot of artists don't know how to do that anymore, but let me take Mondli Ekato region KZN. Welcome to Power Talk.
Dr Ndlozi.
Yebo.
Dr Ngcobo. Dr umama uLina Ngcobo. Odokotela bonke laba balapha e-studio.
Yeah. It's a festival of doctors here.
Yebo. Ngilalela istory sika baba la very sad mangisizwa echaza ukuthi ukhule kanjani, babexoshwa ebusuku masitende nokuthi wehlupheka kanjani esakhula but ngiyambongela manje uNkulunkulu umsizile wamupha umama right, umama uNgcobo wemsiza kakhulu as umama, kodwa manje bamnandi bagrand. Ngiyambongela ubaba Ngcobo kakhulu. Ngithi lokhu muhle umsebenzi wabo, ngiyawuthanda, ngiyawusupport, baqhubeke njalo umsebenzi wabo, ngiyawuthanda kakhulu.
Siyababongela.
Thank you boy.
Thank you. An hour is never enough. What's the future, Babu Ngcobo? I mean, are we still going to look at more albums, more work?
Lento ikhuluma undodana abantu abaningi bebethi hey uretire nini, ngithi hayibo ngisebenzaphi. Hayi ngisho khona la kuMaska ngithi hayibo lento mina ngayiqala ngayithanda ngingazi nokuthi kuzoba umsebenzi wami ozongiphilisa, ukuthi ngiyeke nje angeke kwenzeke because ngiyayithanda. Unkosikazi wami ufakazi ngisho endlini ngihlale phansi nje ngilwe neziginci nje ngizole singathi angisasizwa kahle ngiye kwesinye ukuyeka ukucula mhlawumbe mase ngikhathele impela sengimdala nakhona nginabazukulu ngokubiza bona ngithi osani la noma sengiqhaqhazela nenkiyankiya mhlawumbe sengithi ngiya ngeke ngibone sekuthiwa khuluma nazo nakhona ngasekho futhi khuluma nazo Hashelim mhlophe lenyuka nento kunjalo yabona ukuthi kuhlukene ndodana ukusebenza emsebenzini ngoba ufuna imali kuhlukene nokusebenza umsebenzi ovele uthanda ngoba lo msebenzi ngikhulele emakhaya kude kabi namadropa angizange ngacabanga ukuthi ngifunde isiginci kuzonginika imali noma sasiswa emsakazweni kudlala besithi hayi kudlala ibhokwe lento ayikho lento into yazi yangenza bese ngisenseleni ngahlangana nalawa abantu engeza nabo la eGoli bangithola ngidlalela isiginci sami labafana nabo bangangami bafika wathi hayi ba hey uyadlala isiginci ndoda ngithi hayi ngiyasama bethi hayi thina sishaya ezikagesi igiginci sikagesi esinjani leso hayi bathi sipracticela lapha singahamba nawo ufika uzo hey labantu bangimangaza bashaya exactly into engizwe eradweni ngithi ha kanti lento idlalwa abantu abaphila base bethi hayi awufuni ukusijoyina sikufundisa ibase ngampela bangifundisa ibase ke ngafika nami masifika la eGoli sayiqasesa la kwakune group yemthembu ukhwinzena lo babe ngamcela ukuthi yes saya kubo safike sacela umsebenzi bahleka labo sisi nabo bhuti lezi ingane ziyagula senizenzani sathi hayi shaya iginci sathi ayisicela sihambe nani niyobona la isipracticela khona sinidlalele nizo sabashayela bonke bahlanya bafonela iboss yabo la eGoli yedla special izosilanda KZN yes.
So the future ma is there an album?
Yes, there's an album Megababa ezophuma soon yeah.
What timeline?
Through Igalo.
This year
okay. Ngayo lo June ngayo lo June khona album and besides that there's also abafana baba basizayo when he turned 40 years in the music industry he decided ukuthi akafikanga lula la khona so he did go back to emakhaya ngakubo saya empangeni saya enkandla saya Olundi eindawo eziningi yes saya Olundi sakwa Nongoma saya empangeni saya eMtuba yeah saya nase Eastern Cape kanjalo yeah
so silindele a big bomb this June
yes when he celebrated again empangeni last month the boys were there we have 9 from KZN and 9 from the Eastern Cape we are still going to go to Bolimpopo and everywhere he's trying to help abanye abafana
hayi isikhathi sami sesiphelile but sinthanda kakhulu the cultural icon that you are represents genius, collaboration and love but also an amazing form of discipline that doesn't 40 years is discipline and we wish you the best bantwana benkosi it's 1200 hours mina ngiqedile ngizonibona ngomvulo I hope you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned for Power Lunch with Pabi.
Yes.
Sinshia Ngomontuza. Thanks, Babu.
Thanks so much.